Hello, everyone, and I'd love to welcome the amazing Dr. Ellen Albertson to the show. So, Dr. Ellen is a psychologist, registered dietitian, well-being coach, Reiki master, self-compassion teacher, known as the midlife whisperer. She helps women have the energy, confidence, and clarity to make their next chapter their best chapter. A best-selling, award-winning author and creator of the Quantum Joy Alignment Method, Dr. Ellen is an expert on women's well-being. She has appeared on Extra, the Food Network, and NBC World News, and has been quoted in Psychology Today, Forbes, and Eating Well. Her latest book is Rock Your Midlife, The 7 Steps to Transform Yourself and Make Your next chapter your best chapter. So thank you so much for being here today, Dr. Ellen.
Thank you, Tessa, and thank you for doing this because I think it is so important that we're talking about this topic because let's face it, it's not something that we are taught or encouraged to deal with. So I really appreciate the work you are doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself, please, Dr. Ellen?
Sure. Well, I have been working with midlife women even before I was at midlife myself. So when I started my career in health and wellness as a nutritionist, everyone coming to me were midlife women, and I really have worked with this demographic for the last 30 years and gone through midlife myself. So I'm kind of towards the end and kind of making my next, golden years amazing. And so it's a really interesting time period because there's so many changes. I mean, we're changing physiologically. If you're in a female body, you're going through this transition. And in terms of like loss, there can be a lot of things you might be disappointed. You might feel like, gosh, I'm grieving because I'm not youthful anymore. I'm not the way, where I thought I would be, or maybe going through divorce or empty nests or dealing with aging parents, dealing with your own aging. So it's a really beautiful time too. It's definitely the caterpillar to butterfly, but it can feel like I'm in the chrysalis. And when do I get to be that butterfly? So I love what I do. I basically combine my work as a health and wellness coach, a psychologist, and a mindful self-compassion teacher with, Reiki, a little astrology and tarot. And then of course, as a nutritionist just to help women at midlife just live an amazing lives. Myself, if you had told me a decade ago when I was in my 50s that my life would be this incredible, I would have been like, sign me up. But I had to go through a lot of transformation and grieving and processing to really be in alignment with what is truly in my highest interest and brings me joy.
Excellent, thank you. And so we hear about the word self-compassion a lot, but what does it really mean and why should we do it?
Well, self-compassion is essentially treating yourself the way you would a good friend. And so who doesn't need a good friend that's there with them 24/7? I work with women, they're always like, scratching heads like, my relationship. I say, how's your relationship with yourself? They're like, what's a relationship with yourself? Your relationship with yourself is your most important relationship. And so self-compassion, treating yourself like a good friend can really transform that relationship and make it much richer, much more powerful. So there basically are 3 elements to self-compassion. So with self-compassion, we are kind to ourselves rather than judgmental. We talk to ourselves and hold ourselves the way we would a good friend, right? We're not critical, we're not unkind. And the interesting thing is that we're usually, most of us, pretty much most women I've talked to, much kinder to our friends than we are to ourselves. So often when I'm working with a client, I'm like, okay, think about your best friend. If you were going through this thing, what would you say to her? What would you do? How would you treat her? And then do that toward yourself. So the first element is being kind to yourself. So this is action component of just like, yeah, I'm going to be nice to myself. I'm going to talk to myself in a kind way. And when that critic rears its head, I'm going to be like, thank you very much. But we're going to use this voice of self-compassion to support ourselves. The second piece is common humanity. So with common humanity, we know that things go wrong. It's part of life when, we're grieving something, whether, my case, breast cancer or your own aging, or maybe going through divorce, empty nest. Maybe some of us are still, grieving, going through things from the pandemic, that it's normal. Like life is filled with suffering. So often we think we're suffering and we think I'm the only one out there. we don't feel so isolated and alone. And we make mistakes too with self-compassion, with this common humanity. We realize everybody makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. And we feel like it's okay. That's really how we learn and how we grow. It's part of being human. And then the last piece of the last element of self-compassion, after kindness, common humanity, comes mindfulness, which means you notice when you're stressed and struggling and you give yourself what you need. You're mindful of how you're feeling. And so often we don't like those uncomfortable feelings. We don't know how to be sad, how to grieve. And so we might, eat too much, drink too much, watch too much TV, play on our phones, shop. We're just itchy, right? Instead of just going like, oh, I'm sad right now. Like I just had a dear friend and, and she had to put her dog down. Her dog was, suffering. It was time. And it's like, okay, you got to take some time to do some grieving because you had this dog for 13 years and you love this animal. And how do you process that? So with self-compassion, you notice, oh gosh, I'm feeling really sad right now. And then you think, what do I need to help myself work through this? Maybe you need some coaching, maybe you need, some therapy, maybe you need to talk to a friend, spend some time in nature, or just like cry. So often I love cinema therapy, like watching a movie that makes you cry and you feel so cathartic, like when you find yourself like, oh yeah, okay, I'm letting out some tears. Tears are very healing, right? It's that water energy that is helping to wash away some of those sorrows.
Oh, thank you so much. And do you think that the food we eat has an impact on our minds and bodies? And I know that when people are grieving, they don't sometimes eat that well.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, I am doing a certification in nutritional psychology, and I am finding it so fascinating that the research really shows that when we eat what's called highly palatable foods, so those, I don't know what chips in the UK, you probably call them chips, and things like candies and chocolates and M&Ms, these highly very palatable foods. It actually does a number of things. It actually shrinks aspects of our brains when we eat those things. Our hippocampus actually shrinks, our IQ actually goes down. And what happens is it messes with what's called our dopamine reward system. So if you ever tried to eat one M&M, you just can't do it. Because, if you think about, we evolved, like if you were, living, 100,000, 200,000 years ago, if you found a pot of honey, if you found a beehive with honey or a big bunch of berries, you would eat as much as you can because you want to get those calories. So we live in bodies that were designed hundreds of thousands of years ago, but our bodies and our brains are the same, but the environment's totally different. So when we're grieving, so often, and we think about it, when someone's grieving, what do? You bring them food, lots and lots and lots of food. But what happens is when we have these foods that are highly palatable, we just want more and more and more. It doesn't satisfy because food isn't going to take care of the grief. It's going to distract you and you may feel better for the moment, right? Because while you're eating that cupcake, that chocolate, whatever it is, that macaroni and cheese, you have that threesome with Ben and Jerry's, it feels good because dopamine's going up, which is the chemical of reward. It's all brain time, it's all neurotransmitters. But then once that carton is empty, you finish the food, you're like, oh, I want more of that because I don't want to deal with these difficult emotions. So the highly palatable foods are actually not good for our bodies or our brains. Conversely, foods that are high in phytochemicals, which are plant chemicals, fiber, probiotics, and prebiotics, which are the things that feed what's called your microbiome. You have trillions of organisms living mostly in your gut. These actually communicate with your brain. There's an axis that we have a vagus nerve. The gut and the brain are connected. The gut talks to the brain, and it really shows there's a correlation between depression and even anxiety and where your microbiome is at. So the healthy foods, the fruits, the vegetables, the probiotics, which are things like yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, these fermented foods, pickles, they're actually feeding this microbiome and actually over time can really have an impact on your brain. So it blows my mind to see how much diet impacts your brain. And the interesting thing is too, is when you eat these whole plant foods, you get full, right? When you eat the chips and the cupcakes and things like that, you just want more and more and more. And so what happens is the pleasure goes up the more you eat, and you just want to keep eating it. When you eat a healthy meal, let's say you make, a beautiful like roast chicken and vegetables and salad, you get full. And so I guess to leave people with kind of an acronym to think about is, think about the acronym HALT, which stands for hungry, angry or anxious, lonely, or tired. So if you're going through grieving, if you're hungry, you eat, right? And if you're hungry, you eat, you stop eating. There's a feedback mechanism. If you are angry or anxious, you're lonely, you're tired, you're bored, you're sad, whatever that is, if you eat the food, there's no feedback, there's no stop, because what you're eating is not going to address the problem. So you've got to find, how am I going to address the angry, the anxious, the tired, the bored, the sadness, the grieving, finding ways. That's where that self-compassion comes in. We're mindful, oh, I'm sad right now. I'd really like to open that refrige, right, and pull out that ice cream, but I know that that's not going to make me feel better in the long term. And in fact, when I'm done with that carton of ice cream, I'm actually going to feel worse, because my body and my brain are going to feel worse. And then I might even feel a little guilty or remorse that I did that. So it's really a matter of pausing and asking yourself, how am I feeling and what do I really need? If you're hungry, yes, make yourself something healthy. And I always tell people, nutrition doesn't have to be complicated. If you are struggling, with your weight, you're going through menopause, struggling with grieving, please reach out to me at the Midlife Whisperer. I would be happy to do a consult and see if I can help you. But make yourself a healthy meal if you are truly hungry. Satisfy your hunger, but don't use food to soothe yourself emotionally. I mean, we all eat emotionally, but see if you can actually halt emotional eating, and really see if you can, give yourself healthy food as you are, going through a grieving process.
Wonderful. Thank you. So what are some quick changes that we could do just to eat better, do you think?
Yeah, I would say trying to eliminate, first of all, the processed food. So trying to, reduce the added sugars. I mean, looking at the food label and seeing added sugars are everywhere. I know here in the United States, they actually have, the label now has added sugars. They have grams of added sugar. So trying to eliminate the sugar. Sugar is a very highly processed food. It can be, have an almost addictive like nature to it. So really trying to eliminate the processed foods in general. So, if something has more than 5 ingredients, it has things in it that your grandmother wouldn't have recognized, don't buy it. And it's also really good for the environment, because if you're buying things without the packaging, you're helping the environment. So really, it starts with your produce section. Eat more plants. So really fill your cart up with fruits and veggies. Try to go a little bit more meatless. I'm not saying you have to go vegan and give up meat entirely. It's very important, particularly for women over 50, that we eat enough protein. We need more protein as we're going through menopause, because as estrogen decreases, we start to lose muscle mass. And so eating more protein can help to keep that muscle mass up. So it's important. We need about 1 to 1.2 grams at least a day, 1.1 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So again, eating more plants, getting more protein, but also eating mindfully or intuitively, bringing in pleasure, but not, there's a difference of enjoying your food and just being aware while you're eating, not being distracted with your cell phone on or eating in front of the TV, but not that pleasure where you're going to all of the processed food and the sweets and the junk food. So those are just a few hits. And I would say take your time with it. Another great thing to do is maybe just, make 1 or 2 changes a week. So a lot of times when I start working with clients, we give up soda the first week, especially for people who are addicted to the diet sodas. Those can be very addicting. And actually the sugar-free sodas can actually make you want more food. They actually are predicting weight gain over time. So you want to get rid of the, the juices and the sodas and things like that. Then maybe you want to add in something like an extra serving of produce. Maybe if your afternoon snack, you want to have a small handful of nuts and maybe a piece of fruit or an unsweetened yogurt. I would say planning is really important too. A lot of times we just get home, there's nothing in the fridge. Most of my clients, I have them, okay, let's do, when you can do your food shopping, when are you going to do the prep? And a lot of my clients on Sundays will do all of their prep for the week. So they'll cut everything up. They'll do some batch cooking. So it doesn't have to be complicated. When I have, I'm working with people with their nutrition, I just kind of think about it. This is your plate. want to think of 50% of the bulk of your food is the produce, the fruits, the vegetables, the salads. And these days we can buy all of those things already chopped up and washed. So, you can buy baby carrots and broccoli, even frozen is good. Frozen sometimes is actually has more nutrients, more nutritious because they freeze it when it's harvested. So half your plate is produce. Your protein is about the size of your palm. So like 4 to 6 ounces, you want to try to get about 20 to 25 grams of protein at each meal, 10 to 15 each snack. And then, about a fist size in terms of your carbohydrate. So I find if you are trying to lose weight, carbohydrates kind of the easiest place to reduce. I'm not saying that carbohydrates are bad and don't eat them. You want to eat the unprocessed one. The more we think about whole grains or eating, having like a sweet potato or, staying away from the refined carbohydrates because they make your blood sugar go up and your blood sugar crashes. You want to keep a nice even keel so you're not so moody and you also stay full longer. So that's just some simple techniques. And I will say that all of this stuff is going to copy here. Everything's in my book, Rock Your Midlife. So that's my third step, is about energizing yourself. And I have a whole bunch of tips and information available about how to eat right at midlife.
Thank you. And how do you always manage to look so vibrant and full of life?
Well, it hasn't always been that way. I mean, I think it's really the body, the mind, the heart, the spirit, and my relationship. So I take fantastic care of my body. I will not lie. I exercise every single day, and I exercise a lot because I love to. I love to, here I live in Costa Rica. I walk and I swim every day. I'm actually getting my yoga certification, so I practice yoga. I lift weights. So I'm passionate about movement. I love to dance. I love to move my body. And I'm here to say that movement is fun. Find a type of movement that you want to do, that you enjoy. So I move my body, I eat really, really well, but I also enjoy myself. Last night was my husband and I celebrated an anniversary. And so, we had a beautiful meal. Thank you. Thank you. So relationships are really important too. I surround myself with positive people who support me, who get me, that I relate to. Definitely have boundaries. That's my step 6, which is rehabbing your relationships. I definitely keep a positive mindset. So, I notice we have thoughts that are negative, neutral, and positive. So I try to really focus on the positive ones, also knowing what I have control over and what I don't. Helping other people is super important for me to, stay vibrant. And I just having passion and purpose. I'm here to inspire people. I'm here to be of service. So helping other people really feeds my soul. So if you want to be more vibrant, yes, it starts with, diet and movement. Sleep is super important too. I had a breast cancer diagnosis 2 years ago. So I realized that sleep is something that I have to work on a little bit myself. That's important if you want to feel really vibrant. Taking time off is super important too. Don't be afraid to take a nap if you can, if you work for yourself, or if you can on the weekends, making sure to rest. I think our culture, we live in this hustle culture and we're taught to go, go, go all the time, but we need time to rest, replenish ourselves, do those things that really feed ourselves. Spending time in nature is super powerful as well. So lots of things. Do more of what brings you joy and feeds your soul.
So thank you. And what is quantum joy alignment, please?
So quantum joy alignment is this process that I've used and I use with my clients to really help you to be on a path of joy and in alignment with your soul. I think when we incarnate, when we come into the planet, our souls are, look at babies, they're pretty much born kind of joyful, knowing who they are. And our vibration changes because people tell us it's not okay to be ourselves. So with quantum joy alignment, it's really about rediscovering that alignment, taking off these lampshades, these things which keep you from shining your light. And it's really all about, first of all, embracing yourself. So going back to that self-compassion, embracing who you are, being authentic. When you are authentic, when you're your true self, there's no imposter syndrome. You don't need to compete with other people because no one can be better than you when you're the youest you, right? When you do your best, when you strive for excellence and embrace who you are, warts and all, that really helps you to become come into quantum joy alignment. So be authentic, embrace yourself. The next stage after embracing yourself is to elevate your mind, your body, and your emotions. So we've talked a lot about elevating your body, appreciating this amazing vessel that you have to live your life in, 32 trillion cells that all are working to keep you alive, taking beautiful care of that body, getting rid of the negative things you tell your body, then, the negative stories, especially at midlife. I think we can, feel like, I'm not good, my body's not good enough, I'm not attractive, I've gained weight, whatever that blah, blah, blah story is, I'm going through menopause. Love your body. It's just trying to keep your life. So elevating your body, elevating your mind. So keeping your thoughts, again, positive. When you notice you have a negative thought or something difficult comes up, then you give yourself that self-compassion. And what do I need right now? How can I change also my beliefs? What are the stories that I tell myself that aren't serving me anymore? How do I switch those and change those? And then your emotions. So we have our emotions are energy in motion. Our emotions really are our frequency. So asking yourself, am I vibrating with, joy, happiness, gratitude, compassion, enthusiasm, appreciation, or am I stuck in sort of anger, sadness? But taking care of those emotions, when we're grieving, okay, I'm going to spend some time processing this, whatever that means for me, so I can go up. There's a wonderful, you can email me at the Midlife Whisperer, and I'll be happy to send it to you, the emotional guidance scale from Abraham Hicks. You can Google it, where there's a spiral. So there's a spiral that goes up from sort of the sadness, the grief, the depression, moving on up. And then there's also a spiral where we're moving all the way up to joy and love. So doing more of what we love in our lives. So really working on your vibration. Everything is vibration. We are energetic beings. So that emotional vibration is what will truly magnetize what we want in our lives. And then the final piece is enlightening yourself, is making that connection with God, source, spirit, what you're passionate about, what your purpose is, what helps you come alive, and realizing that you are a soul having a human experience. I think that kind of takes some of the bite out of the grieving too, of knowing, okay, even when I got things like, getting breast cancer, going through divorce, I went blind 3 times, empty nest, realizing, okay, my soul's growing through these difficulties. I'm learning how to be compassionate towards myself as I'm going through things. And this is also giving me more compassion and understanding of others. Now, I understand when I talk to someone who comes to me and says, oh my God, I just got a cancer diagnosis. What do I do, Dr. Ellen? And I'm like, okay, I've got you. Been through this. I understand. So making that connection with your soul is so important to come to quantum joy alignment. And also just understanding that, God is there. Whatever you call it, whether you pray to God, angels, spirit, consciousness, whatever that is, there is a divine consciousness that is there for you and wants to help you soar, wants to help you. I don't have it on now, but I often wear these bracelets that have the water from the Dead Sea and water from Mount Everest. So that you can pick yourself up when you're at the lowest point, and then you also can thrive when you are like at the top and when you're at Everest. But having that soul connection is so important.
Amazing, thank you. So, Dr. Ellen, so if you look back on everything that's happened to you in your life, what is the one thing that you could share with the audience, do you think, that could help them?
Just practice self-compassion. I mean, it really changed everything for me. I used to be incredibly critical about everything, about my body. And when I discovered self-compassion, I was a personal fitness trainer, and I was that woman, the group exercise woman who everyone's looking and saying, she's got the perfect body, lifting I guess in the UK, it's 10 kilograms, weights and squatting. And I hated my body and I hated myself. I really did. I was so hard on myself, so critical, thinking that I needed to beat myself up all the time in order to get to this place of perfection. And I never got there. It's on this hamster wheel of like, beat yourself up, be harder on yourself, eat less, exercise more, get more degrees. And then someday I thought, well, then someday I'll be satisfied. But you've got to love yourself now. And that's what self-compassion is about. To me, self-compassion is kind of a how-to of the self-love. If you're thinking, how do I love myself? You start By being kind to yourself, by thinking, okay, I'm going through this. What would I say to a good friend? Or if I had a wise friend who is going through something similar, what would she say to me? And when you start loving yourself, practicing self-compassion, doing the self-care, resting when you need to rest, giving yourself what you need, you start to fall in love with yourself. You stop doing those things that insult your soul, and you start to truly attract what is really in your highest interest. And you really get on that quantum joy alignment path. When I looked at my life last night when I was celebrating, and I kind of had to pinch myself because my life is so gorgeous. I wouldn't change a thing. I have a wonderful new partner. I live half the time in beautiful Vermont on an island, and half the year in Costa Rica. I love the work that I do. I feel fabulous. And so you can get to that place too. I remember it was probably about 7 or 8 years ago when I was still in my first marriage, and I was watching Eat, Pray, Love. And that last scene where Julia Roberts is playing Elizabeth Gilbert in that scene. I don't know if have you seen the movie?
No, I haven't, no.
It's a great movie. And so she's starting to fall in love with Javier, who's played by I remember the actor Bardem. I don't remember his Javier Bardem. Felipe is the character she's falling in love with, and he says, "Liz, it is time," and he dances her into the bedroom. And I was like, I want that energy. I want that in my life. And whatever you're craving, whatever you really want, give yourself permission to want it. Love yourself, practice self-compassion, but then give yourself to come to this place. I call it again in my book, Rock Your Midlife. It's called your destination vibration, that thing that you want, whatever you want. The universe wants you to have it. What you are seeking is seeking you. And if you had told me, 7, 8 years ago when I was watching that my life would look like this, I'd be like, sign me up. But I had to go to a lot of places, that some of which were dark, in order to get on the path. And then I allowed myself to really follow my path. And I only came to Costa Rica because there was a hurricane in Florida. We were going to go there, and the universe kind of led me to Costa Rica, to the right house, the right place. All of it just unfolded. So trust the universe, but you've got to change your frequency. And again, if you are struggling, reach out to me. Anyone who's listening to this, I would be happy to get on a clarity call with you. You can go to Midlife Whisper, and I would be happy to support you with wherever you're out, because you only get one time being you, whatever you believe in terms of past lives, future lives, all of that stuff. There's only one time, and there's only now to be the you as you and enjoy your life.
So, and can you tell us about your lovely free gift, please, Ellen?
Yes, it is 10 tips to rock your midlife. And so I've kind of encapsulated a lot of what I've talked about today, about self-compassion, about having more joy, about having more energy, more vibrancy, and that will get you in connection with me as well. And again, if you're struggling and you need some support, go to my website, themidlifewhisperer.com, and you can connect with me there. And I would be happy to schedule a time to talk to you and help you to rock your midlife.
And where can people find you?
Again, themidlifewhisperer.com. So that's where I am on Instagram. You can see me dancing on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook at Dr. Ellen Albertson. But if you go to my website, themidlifewhisperer.com, that's the Midlife Whisperer, not midwife, Midlife Whisperer. You can reach me there, and you can see all of the various social connections that I have there.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that's a beautiful place to wrap up. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ellen, for your time. It's been great seeing you.
Good to see you too, Tessa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.